Hi, I'm Julie Smith David, the new Chief Innovation Officer for the American Accounting Association. And in this role, I have the pleasure of working with Martha Eining and the Intellectual Property Task Force to evaluate what the future of scholarly publishing is and help the AAA prepare for that future. This short video is going to provide an overview of some business models, and we're asking for input to see what you think might be the future of scholarly publishing and what we should be looking into. So if we think about our current model, we have a number of authors who are out creating incredible articles and intellectual property about accounting and the overall accounting discipline. In order to produce journals, we have two different areas: a submission and peer review process, which is supported by one system, and then a production process that actually turns those accepted articles into journal articles. So if we look at the details of what happens is the authors are creating great content. They're submitting articles into the peer review process, and we have a number of reviewers. Each of those reviewers is looking at the work and making assessments. And throughout the peer review process, we get better and better signals whether those papers might be accepted for publication or whether they're going to be rejected. That's being represented here by the red for rejection and the green for acceptance. The editor then has usually the final say in what happens, and at the end of the peer review process, some of the articles are going to drop out of the process because they were rejected, and other ones are going to be moved into the production system where they're going to get page-proofed, typeset, and put together in the form of a journal. Once the journal is put together, we have several ways of distributing it. It could be distributed in print, which could go to libraries represented by the blue diamonds, or they could be sent to members. They could be distributed electronically through our digital library, and again, that could go to members or to libraries. And we also work with aggregators who collect our digital content and make that available to libraries. From a business model standpoint, you can see that there's really four ways that most publishers are currently working and can receive revenues. There's submission fees when authors submit their articles. There's subscription fees from libraries. There's dues or fees from members. And there's the aggregator revenues. Well, this model has worked really well for the American Accounting Association, but we want to look out 5 to 10 years and see what could be on the horizon. Well, one option that could be out there might be influenced by the future that we see. If library budgets continue to decline, there's going to be more and more pressure on them to minimize the amount of subscriptions that they're subscribing to. What happens if, like in Europe, federally funded research must be freely available? We also wonder whether a journal as a container of IP is going to continue to have meaning. Well, if we look at the future given those things, perhaps open access, which is being discussed a lot, will be what actually ends up occurring. In an open access environment, we would end up having submission fees, potentially, but then when we would be able to distribute, we would only be distributing electronically, and we'd be making everything available free of charge. There may be additional acceptance fees, so either there could be submissions fees or acceptance fees in an open access world. The other things that we're seeing might be even more radically different from what we've experienced. PLOS is a science journal, a mega journal, and authors are, again, contributing content. But rather than having a peer review process like we're used to, there's an initial submission and screening, an evaluation that occurs by one of the editors. And the evaluation is whether this is whether it isn't an overall assessment of the contribution, but whether the research has been performed adequately well. And so there's submission fees at that point, and they're collecting a huge amount of content with a wide range of readers. And so what we would imagine would occur in this sort of environment is that as the rereaders over time evaluate the work, we're going to see that metrics could be collected that would allow us to again make assessments of whether this is a really strong article or perhaps there are some weaker articles that are within the process. And so if we look at PLOS, they're actually identifying article level metrics such as the downloads, comments, references or bookmarks or citations as a way of evaluating not the quality of the overall journal, but the quality of the individual articles themselves. We're finding that all of these different business models really provide some exciting opportunities for the American Accounting Association and also some risks. So we're asking questions of all of you. What models do you believe are going to evolve for scholarly publishing? What do you think you would like to see emerge? What would the advantages and disadvantages be of the new models that are out there? And then if we believe that the future is going to be different from today, how could we be experimenting in order to better prepare for the future? We really want feedback. We're collecting that feedback at the AAA Commons. Just go to AAAcommons.org, or you could make comments to this video wherever you're seeing it. Thanks in advance for your feedback, and we look forward to a really exciting future for scholarly publishing.